Hi everyone, today I'll be looking at Charlie Christian's solo on the tune 7come11. Christian's solo begins 45 seconds into the tune and is played over the entire 32-bar AABA song form. Each section of this form is 8 bars long, and in Christian's 7come11 solo, the harmony for each section is as follows. As you can see, throughout the progression, all chords are dominant sevenths. Each A section uses an A flat dominant 7th chord, while the B section uses a cycle of fifths progression, beginning with this G dominant 7th and ending here with the A flat dominant 7th of the final A section. Looking now at the A sections of the solo. For these sections, Christian draws his notes almost exclusively from the A flat mixolydian mode, the 5th mode of D flat major. Mixolydian is a common choice to play over dominant 7th chords with the same root note, as the mixolydian mode contains all of the notes of the dominant 7th, as well as the 9th, 11th, and 13th. Throughout the solo, Christian also adds various chromatic notes to the A-flat mixolydian note pool, the most notable being C-flat. The addition of C-flat to A-flat mixolydian gives the characteristic bluesy sound of the minor third being used in conjunction with the major third C natural. The C-flat can be found in the A-flat blues scale, which, when combined with the A-flat mixolydian mode, gives the so-called composite blues scale. Many of Christian's chromatic notes can be analysed being derived from the composite blues scale or from a more theoretical perspective. For example, this D natural can be heard as a chromatic passing note between E flat and D flat, or as belonging to the A flat composite blues scale. Also, the many instances of the C flat moving to C natural can be heard as two notes belonging to the A flat composite blues scale, or as an incomplete chromatic lower neighbour note or passing note to C. Throughout the score, where the C flat occurs as an incomplete chromatic lower neighbour note or passing note to C natural, I've notated it as its enharmonic equivalent B natural, as this is easier to read and visually shows the semitone move to C. Throughout the A sections of his solo, Christian's use of the B to C natural move can also be heard as a motif, which he has borrowed from the tune's head. In jazz terminology, the head refers to a tune's melody and chord changes. A common improvisational device in jazz is to use ideas taken from the head as motifs for the solos. These motifs can either be used literally or can be melodically and or rhythmically modified and developed. As you can see, during the A sections, the B to C move features prominently, as does the frequent inclusion of the subsequent minor third interval up to E flat. This B, C, E flat motif is also used here in sequence, beginning on E natural. Christian also frequently includes the note F after the C to E flat move, an inclusion which he has also borrowed from the head. Another interval used in the head, which Christian employs throughout his solo, is the diminished fifth or tritone. In the head, the tritone is used on its own as here, or filled in with intervening intervals. In the following bars of his solo, Christian uses the filled-in tritone in various rhythmic guises, and on its own, the tritone is found between the 3rd and 7th of the G and C dominant 7th chords of the B section. Along with the use of motifs borrowed from the head, Christian also uses other rhythmic ideas to unite the A sections of the solo and his own improvisational thoughts. For example, here, Christian ends these phrases with this 8th note dotted quarter note rhythm, which was initially heard in its basic form here in bar 2. This rhythm also can initially be heard here in Christian's single note introduction. This idea is again used here in bar 29, while this idea is also found at the beginning of the final A section. Finally, this idea sees the C flat being used as a chromatic upper neighbour note to B flat. In these bars, Christian's use of the half step bend up to C flat adds to this motif's memorability, as the use of bent notes is a relatively uncommon occurrence in jazz guitar solos. Throughout the A sections of his solo, Christian also makes liberal use of the minor third interval, not only as a literal quote from the head, such as the C to E flat move discussed previously, but also in other guises, such as here, between F and A flat, and here as part of a decorated F minor 7th arpeggio. During the solo's B section, aside from being used as part of arpeggios, Christian avoids using minor third intervals, instead favouring seconds, fourths, and larger intervals. The prominent use of these other intervals, along with the inclusion of a moving rather than static chord progression, gives the B section its individual sound. Throughout the B section, Christian again draws his notes almost exclusively from the Mixolydian mode. He uses the Mixolydian mode of each chord of the cycle of fifths progression. For example, G Mixolydian is used over the G dominant 7th chord, C Mixolydian over the C dominant 7th, and so on. Many of the chromatic notes in the B section can be heard as passing notes. For example, here, the D flat and C flat are chromatic passing notes between the D, C, and B flat notes of the C Mixolydian mode. And here, the F flat is passing between the F of the C Mixolydian mode and the E flat of the F Mixolydian mode. This F can also be heard as an anticipation preempting the change of harmony to the F dominant 7th chord in bar 21. Christian also uses anticipations in the following bars. Here he anticipates the G dominant 7th harmony by sounding its third B on the final beat of this bar. Here, the E flat dominant 7th chord is anticipated by the E flat note in the preceding bar. And here, while perhaps not a true anticipation, Christian begins the B, C, E flat motif on the final 8th note beat of the E flat dominant 7th harmony, thereby anticipating the change to the A flat dominant 7th harmony in the following bar and the return of the A section. Many of Christian's B section lines can be heard as embellished dominant 7th arpeggios. For example, here, removal of the passing E notes reveals a B half diminished 7th arpeggio. And here, over the C dominant 7th chord, an E half diminished 7th arpeggio, decorated with the previously discussed chromatic notes, is used. Here, Christian decorates the 5th and 7th of the F dominant 7th chord, while in the following bar he literally plays a half diminished 7th arpeggio from its 3rd. Playing a half diminished 7th arpeggio from the 3rd of a dominant 7th chord is a common technique used to extend dominant 7th harmony and create a dominant 9th sound. Another common technique which Christian uses to extend the A flat dominant 7th chord of the A sections is to play a minor 7th arpeggio whose root note is found a major 6th above or minor 3rd below the root note of the dominant 7th chord. In the A sections, Christian plays an F minor 7th arpeggio over the A flat dominant 7th harmony, thereby creating a dominant 13th sound. As noted previously, probably the most literal application of this technique is found here in bar 7, where Christian plays a decorated F minor 7th arpeggio. This concludes the analysis of Charlie Christian's 7come11 solo. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.